As I sit here recording this, the Liberal Premier of Tasmania, Jeremy Ratcliffe, is currently sitting in Government House, and he is about to request that the Governor of Tasmania call snap elections for the state after he personally lost a vote of confidence in his leadership last week. And it is very unlikely that the Governor is going to reject that request for snap elections. The only circumstance under which she would possibly reject that would be, first, if the Liberal Party itself went to the Governor and said, we are actually going to switch leaders. Ratcliffe, we don't want anymore. We have this new candidate and they're going to try and get confidence of the House. Or if some other group of parties like the Labor Party and the Greens came together and said, look, we now have a majority in the House and we want to try governing. That first option, very unlikely. Ratcliffe is very popular within the Liberal Party. He isn't that unpopular at a state level amongst the broader public, and there is nobody else in the party that realistically could step up and become Premier. And for that second option, well, the Labor Party, there was potentially a path that if they got the Greens on side and a couple of independent crossbenchers, they could maybe form a majority government, weird coalition, but the Labor Party has outright rejected the idea of working with the Greens. The Greens even made a formal offer after the vote of no confidence to try and form government with Labor, but the Labor Party immediately rejected that. But what this video is going to be about, and what I want to focus on before this election is inevitably called, is that it's presented a very unique opportunity for, in my opinion, one of the most interesting Liberal politicians of the last decade to get herself back into politics. That politician is Bridget Archer, the previous MP for Bass. She held the seat from 2019 up until this year in 2025, and I think that she has been one of the most interesting voices within the Liberal Party because of her consistent willingness to go against the Liberals on policies that she doesn't believe in. Now, I can't go into every instance of her going against her own party, but the most famous ones that you've probably heard of are, first of all, when ScoMo was in office, she vocally supported the idea of a national independent commission that would investigate allegations of corruption in the federal government. She then stood against Scott Morrison's reforms of the sex discrimination bill and was very vocal about the fact that it needed to be reformed to include protections for transgender students. And then I would argue most famously, when it was revealed that Scott Morrison had secretly appointed himself to half a dozen different ministries and secretly had more power than any prime minister in history without the public's knowledge, she was the only member of the Liberal Party that voted with Labor in favour of their motion to officially censure Scott Morrison for his actions. I believe Bridget even went so far as to say that in 2024, under Peter Dutton, the Liberal Party was becoming one nation light, and that she didn't want to see the party go even further to the right. So, very vocal critic of the Liberal Party when she wants to be, and that really did save her career in 2022. When the Liberal Party was soundly defeated in 2022 at the federal election, Bridget actually got a swing towards her in her seat. And it was expected that this moderate popular voice within the local community would probably be re-elected in 2025, but the way that the Labor Party went after her was very interesting. Because I would argue that Peter Dutton becoming leader of the Liberal Party essentially destroyed Bridget Archer's political career. Because when the Labor Party was running against her in Bass in this year's election, they didn't go for her personally, they didn't attack her record. The main focus of their campaign was material like this. Sadly, voting for Bridget, who we all know and love, means that you are voting for Peter Dutton. Not only did this campaign approach work in Bass, Bridget was absolutely destroyed when it came around to the election. She suffered a 9-point swing against her. One of the most marginal seats in the country is now a safe Labor seat, where Labor is racking up 58% of the two-party preferred vote. So Bridget's political career seemed over. But then, of course, the best possible opportunity ever presented itself. And like we've talked about before, the Tasmanian government essentially collapsed, and we are now heading for almost certain new elections. And Bridget has said that she is going to run. I've never really seen anything like this in politics, because of course people will lose at some level and then they'll run in another. But Bridget, interestingly, gets the chance to run in the exact same seat that she just lost, effectively. Because if you didn't know, and you haven't seen a couple of my past videos, Tasmania uses a hair clerk system for their elections. They break the state up into 5 electorates, and then they elect 7 members from those divisions. But what's interesting about Tasmania is that they perfectly match the boundaries of their state divisions with their federal ones, and they even have the same name. This is great for the people of Tasmania because there's no confusion about what seat you live in and you vote in at either level. Where you vote in federal politics, you vote in state politics. So the division of Bass, which she lost at the federal election, she will now be running in under the exact same boundaries for the same party, but this time Peter Dutton is going to be nowhere near this. And Bridget will almost certainly get elected in this very likely state election because she has a very large personal vote within Bass. And look, she's officially confirmed she's running for Liberal pre-selection, which means maybe the party might not nominate her, but the party nominates at least 7 people for all of the seats within the state division of Bass. So to think she wouldn't make it would be insane. And in that very unlikely situation, if she ran as an independent in the seat of Bass, she would get elected without a doubt. And honestly, I think the whole thing is a little bit poetic. This woman, who was an incredibly moderate, incredibly well-liked individual, lost her seat because of how insane her party went, but now, thanks to a different form of liberal chaos at a state level, she might just get to continue serving the community that really does respect her but couldn't support her at a federal level because, once again, the party went insane. Quick update. Actually, as I'm recording this, we've just gotten the update that the governor has officially finished her meeting with the premier and has not given him confirmation of an election as of yet. She will get back to him in a week and she is going to consider her options. But again, she has no other options. The Liberals are not going to replace their leader, and there is no alternative government whatsoever that could be made in Tasmania's House of Assembly at the moment. I'll just elaborate while I've got you here as to the reason why the Labor Party and the Greens will not work together. Because hypothetically, there is a way to form some sort of majority with the current numbers in Tasmania's House. They could get all of Labor, then the Greens, and then 3 independents, and that mess of a pseudo-coalition would be able to form government. But aside from the incredibly unstable nature of government that would form, the Labor Party also has pretty much like a vendetta against the Greens on a state level and will never work with them anytime in the future. I mean, never say never in politics, but there's a reason for that. So the Labor Party and the Greens did previously form a sort of informal coalition after the 2010 election in Tasmania. They held their 15 seats back when the parliament was much smaller, but in the 2014 election, the Labor Party and the Greens together suffered a 17-point swing against them, and they have not been in power since. So Labor, seemingly scarred by that, has basically ruled out ever working with the Greens again, even though the math doesn't really work for Labor to ever be able to govern alone. I got a little bit off track there, but the point is, Bridget Archer is coming back to be a voice for moderate Liberals to hold elected office again. The Premier has asked for an election. It has been pushed back a week. Over that time, I'm sure that Labor will once again refuse to form government with the Greens, and we will be heading to an incredibly confusing, multifaceted, proportional election that I just can't wait for.